What if I told you that one ritual still works, but only if the exact words are spoken? The screen fades in from black to reveal a weathered shrine hidden beneath the shade of an ancient tree, its carved stones dusted with ash and memories. A single ember glows at its center, radiating the quiet power of a secret flame. There is no grand spectacle, no swirling lights or CGI effects, just the hush of dawn and the weight of untold history awakening in our ears. In this moment, tension settles in and we feel the question not just spoken but felt. Could a ritual buried by time and forbidden by fear still hold power today? We glimpse fragments of ancestral voices, an echo of chanting drifting through leaves, muted by centuries of silence. Yet the power hums beneath. The mystery is clear and immediate. This ritual cannot be attempted half-heartedly or without reverence. It demands precision, it demands truth, it demands words. There is no casual invocation, there is only commitment. What was once hidden in whispers is about to be revealed. The ground feels alive, the air feels thick. History, promised and precarious, awaits us. By the end of this video, you will understand why this ritual was concealed in darkness, how it operates on a level beyond our usual senses, and what deep fears it sparked among those who stood to lose if its power endured. We will trace the journey from oral secrecy to colonial suppression to modern reclamation. We will hold the line between myth and living practice. We will meet guardians of memory who still recall, with nails pressed to earth, the syllables that open ancestral gatekeeping. Join us now as we step into silence and listen for the words. In ancient African kingdoms, words were never mere vibrations in the air. They were forces that shaped reality. Priestesses and priests, diviners and seers, served not only as spiritual guides but as living repositories of sacred incantations. They carried ancient verses that could calm storms, open the gates between the living and the ancestral realm, and invoke justice that defied any earthly court. These words were bound in oath and blood, entrusted across generations in whisper-only transmissions, and guarded fiercely, often at the cost of life itself. When one sibling strayed, another learned. When colonial edicts arrived, the echo of these words dimmed, but did not die. It was this living power within language that terrified colonial states and evangelical missionaries. Under the guise of conquest and salvation, colonial powers enforced bans on all indigenous practices rooted in language. They claimed incantations were demonic. They decreed that the utterance of ancestral names was pagan. They burned manuscripts, oratory devices, carved tablets, palm leaf scrolls, and outlawed gatherings where these words might still be spoken. By criminalizing the chants, colonial regimes attempted to uproot entire spiritual ecosystems. In many places, priests and priestesses were imprisoned. In others, they were executed or masked behind forced conversions. Yet even as churches rose in their place, as schools replaced shrines, those words, woven through lineage, slipped into shadows. In secluded corners and hidden lineages, some rituals survived. One Dogon village perched on a cliff refuses to speak its incantations aloud in daylight. Only in moonlight, beneath an open sky, can the ancestral gate creak open. Among the Yoruba in southwestern Nigeria, diviners still impart a chant that calls upon Orunmila to reveal fated knowledge. In eastern Nigeria, whispers echo of an Igbo ritual chant capable of guiding lost souls home by repeating a phrase that opens the gates of the ancestors. These chants persist not through written codices, but through whispers passed from elder to young one, under blankets of dusk or in dreams. They were never meant to be public. They were meant to be remembered. We trace the lineage of these hidden words. We see the weight of history in every muted syllable. We sense the veiled power that persists even today, because language, when consecrated, remains alive. Each syllable is a seed planted deep in earth and blood, waiting to bloom when spoken by the right voice at the right time, in the right place. Though colonial powers tried, through laws, through force, through erasure, to lock these words away, they could not destroy them entirely. For as long as one voice knows the rhythm, the words hold power. And so the sacred incantations endured, not as relics, but as living whispers in the fabric of oral memory, echoing the ancestral voices they still serve to awaken. The fear of this ritual was not rooted in superstition but in the stark reality of power. Raw, ancient and utterly ungovernable by colonial frameworks. This was not merely religious, it was political. Every utterance, every syllable carried the potential to summon storms, to correct injustices, to heal the wounded, to open doorways to vision. In a world dictated by European logic, such unpredictable and miraculous realities defied explanation, and thus became threats. Colonial authorities understood this deeply. They knew that when rains fell after a secret chant, or when justice arrived when human courts failed, their grip loosened. That was intolerable. So they banned these rituals not because they were false, they banned them because they worked. British commissioners and French administrators in West Africa did not mask their contempt. They labeled these practices sorcery and witchcraft, invoking justification to burn altars and criminalize incantations. Beyond the public proclamations, secret operatives infiltrated societies, offering incentives to those who would betray names of chants. Yet the ritual refused to die. In many villages, people spoke in coded verses or ancestral proverbs to mask the essence, keeping alive the force beneath silence. And when some rulers learned of the rites, even they feared the imbalance they could create. These weren't toys for amusement, they were sacred technologies requiring stewardship. Just as nuclear power demands stringent ethics, so did these rituals demand commitment, lineage, and reverence. Across lineages, women and elders, often the true custodians of balance, refused to reveal chants indiscriminately. They safeguarded not only the power, but also the consequences. Because this ritual was bound to an unspoken covenant. When the words are spoken, something answers, not in words, but in presence. Rivers may rise, ancestors may appear, a fever may break, or a curse may lift, but the covenant carries weight. Misuse invites reaction. A chant spoken by unprepared lips can invite illness or neglect from the ancestors. A ritual offered as spectacle can open wounds that no chant can heal. This was not religion, it was responsible reciprocity. It was power held with humility, guided by lineage, bounded by consequences. Colonial rulers and domestic rulers alike sought to silence this magic. Not because it was quaint, but because it disrupted their control. They feared rainmakers more than warrior kings. They feared visionaries more than prophets. And so they outlawed the rites, exiled the priests, and forced new narratives of power, courts, scripture, state, onto the land. But each prohibition echoed with a deeper truth. They feared because it was alive, it was real, it was present. And that truth could not be legislated into oblivion. To speak of colonization only as a land grab is to miss the deeper conquest, the erasure of spiritual sovereignty. The ritual remained forbidden not because it was harmless, but because in the wrong hands it could fracture the colonial illusion of total dominion. When the rain answered, or the vision came, or the ancestral remedy appeared, authority shifted. And no decree, no force, no gun could forbid what had been confirmed in hearts, in bodies, in the soil. Thus the ritual endured, not in books or laws, but in covenant, waiting in the silence for those who remember how to speak with power that belongs to ancestors, not executioners. In the hush before dawn, when the world holds its breath, the ritual begins. The location is never accidental. It demands a threshold between worlds. At the crossroads where paths meet, spirits linger in the dust. Under the sprawling branches of a sacred tree, ancestral breath stirs leaves. By riverbanks where water reflects both sky and underworld, the air trembles with hidden currents. It is at these liminal places that the ritual takes shape, set precisely at sunrise when darkness still tempers light and the air vibrates with possibility. Around this sacred space, the practitioner prepares a simple but potent altar. On the earth, a circle is drawn in pure white chalk, the color of spirit, the boundary between worlds. Within that chalk ring sit items of power. A kola nut, its complex bitterness speaking of life's truth. A calabash filled with cool water, its surface reflecting sky and mind. A small fire lit from embers passed down through ancestors' hands, the flames licking skyward as if calling home what was hidden. Stones carved with symbols of gods, ancestors, and cosmic forces. On the lip of the calabash one breathes, animal breath. The pulse of earthborn life, mixing flesh and spirit. This blending of elements, earth, fire, water, breath, prepares the stage for invocation, yet the altar remains inert without the words. The chant is not an afterthought. It is the beating heart of the ritual. articulated through repetition, rhythm, and invocation of divine names. The words are precise, each consonant matters, each vowel opens or closes gates. The chant is structured in triplets, echoing cosmic patterns of three: life, death, rebirth, past, present, future. It begins slowly, quiet, almost inaudible, seeping into the space like mist. But with each repetition, the lines sharpen, the cadence quickens, the voice trembles with expectation. The practitioner's body resonates, feet press earth, spine straightens, hands trace patterns in the soil. This is not singing, it is frequency tuning. Like tuning forks made of flesh, bone, and breath, align with the ancestral pulse. Without the words, the ritual is dead. Place all elements in the circle and stand silent. It is meaningless. Say the words, but whisper a syllable wrong, and the energy collapses, a gate misplaced or blocked. Mispronunciation can close what should open, or worse, it can evoke something unintended. There is no room for improvisation. The chant is a code, a precise unlocking sequence for ancestral resonance. Each syllable is a key, each phrase is a portal. When spoken correctly, the words vibrate through the ancestral plane, like ripples across water. The elements respond. The fire dances higher, the kola nut cracks in resonance, the calabash trembles. The stones hum. A breeze flickers in, though no wind blows. Something has shifted. What happens next is beyond spectacle. The chant summons presence, not in light shows, but in felt reality. Practitioners report a drop in temperature, a heaviness in the air, an unfolding that begins in their stomach and rises into their chest. Those who have witnessed it call it a veil lifting or a presence stepping through. This is not magic in the cliched sense. It is spiritual technology, a system engineered to bridge realms through frequency, intention, cadence, resonance. In those moments, humans and spirit intersect. Time dilates, perspectives expand. The environment itself becomes part of the machine. Dawn light refracts through the chalk dust, shimmering around those who listen. The river hums, the tree seems to breathe, the stones release memory. Everything is calibrated, but only the words initiate the sequence. Imagine an ancient piece of technology, precise, fragile, powerful. One familiar syllable misaligned, and the gears grind to silence. Say it correctly, and an ancestral door opens. This ritual persists not by accident but by design. It encodes centuries of refinement, the distilled knowledge of ancestors who learned that truth cannot be improvised. It demands lineage, focus, precision. It is not entertainment, it is legacy. And so those who still speak it are not just ritualists, they are engineers of the sacred. When the words resonate true, power flows, healing happens, clarity comes, justice manifests. The chant continues until the moment is done. The flame dissipates, the stones are recollected, the chalk erased. But the energy remains. The presence lingers. A witness might carry its imprint in their bones. This is the theater of the unspoken, structured not as myth but as living practice. It is architecture built in breath, bone, sound, and soil. It is ancient and alive. And for those who hear it correctly, it still works, exactly as it always has. In the dim glow of twilight, we journey across borders, from the red clay of Mali's Dogon cliffs to the coastal forests of Benin, from the river valleys of Nigeria to the savannas of Congo and highlands of Ethiopia. In each terrain lives a lineage, a line of guardians who still hold the forbidden incantations intact. They are not celebrities or tourists. They are elders, griots, shrine priests, and quietly devoted families who inherited their roles at birth. Some are solitary, raised deep in forests or on secluded hills, their voices echoing with chants that have never been written down. Their memories are the vault where those words survive. In Mali, an elder griot, blind from birth, repeats his ancestral verse in the night, his voice carried into dreams by the breeze. Each night, he hums the incantation before sleep, refusing to speak it aloud at dawn lest the wrong person hear. In Nigeria, a shrine priestess only murmurs the opening line when the moon is full, her words absorbed into drumbeats that accompany festivals. In Benin, the chants are woven into folk tales. Children hear them in stories about trickster spirits, not realizing that those tales are codes for rain-summoning verses. In Congo, a remote clan passes the chant at initiation by embedding it in a rhythm played on a rattle, subtle enough that outsiders hear only music, but those who listen closely know it's the words they seek. From Burkina Faso comes a story that still ripples through the region. A man's young son fell gravely ill, and no clinic could help. In desperation, the father sought out a woman said to know the chant. On the morning of the third day, beneath a baobab by the village edge, the woman spoke the words. By mid-afternoon, the fever broke and the child smiled. No medication, no vaccine, just the power of the language working as it always has. In Cameroon, during a drought so severe that wells dried and cattle perished, a mother spoke the forbidden chant once at sunrise. Within days, rain returned. The sky opened, crops revived. For many, these are miracles. For those who know, they are proof. Yet with every story comes a shadow of tragedy. These custodians grow old. The griot in Mali passed the song only to his daughter, who moved to the city and no longer remembers every word. The shrine priestess in Nigeria worries her last child will never return. In Benin, the folktales fade as children attend school in distant towns and speak only in official languages. In Congo, outsiders have begun to enter the forest, curious and dangerous, and some elders fear their secrets will leak or be taken. There is a looming fear. What happens when the last guardian dies? Then the words die too, unless they have already been sown in others through dreams, drumming, or quiet remembrance. Some insist that ancestral voices speak in dreams. Others say the earth itself remembers. But memory alone may not be enough. Without a keeper to verify rhythm, pronunciation, timing, the chant loses its efficacy. Without lineage, the covenant unravels. These tensions are not theoretical. They live in every procession, every whispered retelling. The elders keep the words alive by teaching a select few, often grandchildren or trusted disciples. Yet as the world modernizes, the risk grows that these words will slip from living memory into myth. Some young seekers, drawn by ancestral longing, venture to remote villages in hopes of being taught. Some claim to receive the chant in vision, handing down their recordings as proof. But for traditional guardians, there is no substitute for initiation, for learning with eyes open and hearts bound to the ancestors. We meet these guardians through interviews, through their practices, through their quiet resistance to erasure. We feel their solitude and their urgency. We witness the burden of preserving what cannot be written down. The hermit priest, the village griot, the mother in Cameroon, and the thousands like them. They are the last keepers of forbidden power, and with each passing day, the echo of their voices grows more precious and more fragile. Because without them, the ritual is no more than empty myth, and the words, its keys, locked in silence forever. The power of this forbidden ritual is as real as it is perilous. When performed correctly, it hums with ancestral force. It summons healing, breaks curses, aligns fate. Yet with every miracle comes a price. This ritual demands respect, discipline, and lineage. It is not a trinket for thrill-seekers or a spectacle for the curious. Speak the words without readiness, and the voices of ancestors fall silent, as if absent by choice. Invoke the chant out of ego or desperation, and something unseen may recoil. Madness, spiritual backlash, or even curses can follow those who treat the ritual lightly. Mistakes in pronunciation are not trivial. They are breaches in covenant. Every consonant and vowel matters. The spirit world does not accept half-truths. A single mispronounced name can open a door the practitioner does not intend, drawing chaotic forces instead of benevolent ancestors. In one documented account, a young man in a Nigerian village attempted the ritual with only half-remembered verses. He fell into a lasting trance, his mind trapped halfway between this world and the next. Only after weeks of ritual correction, led by his elders, did he return. His memory was fragmented, his spirit altered. It was a stark reminder: the ritual does not forgive errors. This is not entertainment. It is not a trend or mystic showmanship. Its potency resides in lineage, clarity, discipline, and the integrity of purpose. Those who are chosen do not seek power. They are called. They come with humility and an awareness that their lives will be woven into something greater than themselves. Guardians of this tradition often speak of earning the words. They teach that the ritual must be embodied, not just memorized. It must be lived, through fasting, through ancestral communication, through service. Only then do the words carry the weight they require. We understand why such rituals were hidden, because to misuse them is to disrupt the delicate balance between humans and spirits. To approach them casually is to flirt with forces that operate beyond human understanding. The ritual's strength lies in its consequence. When performed with grace, it heals. When treated as play, it destroys. It is a responsibility not bestowed, it is accepted. The message remains clear. Power is not for many, only for those who understand cost. Only for those prepared to wield it with reverence. This forbidden ritual remains alive as long as the chosen remain worthy. The ritual still works, but only if you know the words. Those words are not an incantation in the shallow sense. They are more than syllables strung together. To know them is to know yourself, to trace the lineage of your blood, to recognize the stories of your ancestors woven into each phoneme. It is to understand that every phrase carries the weight of covenant, a promise between the living and the spirit realm, a bond that demands integrity, intention, and humility. In the end, this forbidden ritual is not merely about power. Anyone can chase power, but true practitioners know that power without connection lacks substance. It is about remembering what has been buried, what has been forced into silence, and what still echoes in quiet corners of resistant memory. It is about reweaving the threads of communion that colonial forces tried to sever. It is about placing your voice on the threshold between worlds and meeting your ancestors as equals. Speak if you're ready. Speak only after you have listened. Because the words are not for entertainment. They are not for curiosity. They are for those who come with open hearts and steady intentions. They are for those who understand that the ritual is a conversation, not performance. It is a solemn return to a lineage, a reconnection to something older than memory. When you say the words, you are calling forth more than spirits. You are calling forth your own roots, your own destiny, your own purpose in the tapestry of being. The simplest truth remains: the ancestors are not far. You just forgot their language. That forgetting is not permanent. It can be remembered, it can be reclaimed. And in that reclaiming, life shifts. Your breath deepens, time expands, the world brightens with meaning beyond the material. The ancestors lean down. They speak. If this journey stirred something within you, leave a comment below with, "I hear the words." Your voice may be the beginning of a new lineage of remembering. Don't forget to subscribe for more lost rituals and hidden truths, those echoes of power and spirit that persist just beneath the surface. Thank you deeply for listening. Thank you for witnessing. Thank you for being part of the quiet resurgence. May your journey into remembering be guided, honored, and rooted in sacred intention.